Okay. Well, thanks everybody for joining us this evening for our Somatic Health Literacy Program. I'm Adrienne. I'm with Reston Library, and it's my pleasure to introduce Shabnam Curtis, Integral Life Coach and our guest speaker for this evening.
Thank you. Thank you, Adrienne. Thanks everybody for joining us. Another night together, and I'm so glad and honored to be here with you. So we want to talk about somatic awareness and the process of embodiment tonight. Have you ever wondered that you wanted to make a change? You even knew what change you wanted to make. You even started doing it, but it just didn't go all the way and the change didn't happen. When we want to make a change, whether it's a behavioral change, it's a mindset, it's a habit, we need to embody it. We need to accept it with our entire body, not just here. We learn about it, we keep it here, and then we don't embody it. So tonight I want to talk about one model of many models that are out there that suggests a process for embodying a new behavior or a new pattern in your life. That's what we're going to talk about, which includes a great deal of somatic awareness. If we don't know our body, we can't really make that change as kind of like as part of us, as part of like to become the second nature for us. So we are going to talk about, my mouse works. It's so slow. Come on. Here. We are going to talk about why we need somatic awareness and the process of embodiment. Basically recognizing what we want to do, and then the process of centering. It's like a little practice that I personally love. It helps me a lot. And then how we can expand our perspective to become more curious about how we can change and why we want to change. And then what are the somatic practices for that, and how we can bring it all together and repeat it until it really becomes a part of us. And did I miss one? No. So, like I mentioned, we learn things, right? Well, we are now bombarded by information through social media, different books, different workshops and everything. So we get a lot of information. We get a lot of awareness about what to do, what not to do, what changes we want to have. And let's just think that like we do have a good amount of information about it. But that's all here. That's all in our head. That's the beginning of the process. We call that conceptual self-awareness. The little table that you see, it comes from one of the teachers that I respect very much, Amanda Blake. She is an executive and somatic coach. She teaches globally. This is based on the research studies that each person, each human has this conceptual self-awareness that we use our brain, we use our cognitive ability and cognitive intelligence in order to learn about the information. We get the data, we process the data with our brain, and then that's the kind of like the moment that we even have a lot of aha moments that like, oh, I got it, now I understand it. But it's still very much here. The good thing about it is that like with this awareness, with this conceptual awareness, we can go anywhere. We can go to the past, we can go to the future, we can be at the present. It gives us a lot of ability to see different things in life. But it's only half of our awareness. The other half is the embodiment, is the bodily awareness, it's the somatic awareness that we want to have. And unfortunately, past few decades, or maybe even a couple of centuries, we have been just abusing our bodies, but not using the intelligence that it gives us. But we want to go back to our body. We want to see what our body tells us, what's the message that it gives us, how can we actually learn the body, the language of our body, and of course the body language of others, but also at the same time, how to nurture our body. How do we want to create a body that we feel comfortable in it? So those are different awareness, different types of awareness, but they definitely go hand in hand. When we have the conceptual awareness, then we want to have the embodiment awareness in order to really create a change in our body. Amanda Blake talks about it. I just really liked a few sentences of her book. And I brought it here. I'm going to read it actually because I don't want to kind of like paraphrase it. She says, embodying courage, purposefulness, compassion, and justice needs attention, direct movement, emotional engagement through practice and repetition. Just like when you learn swimming, bike riding, or playing an instrument. This is how neuroplasticity plays its role to help us actualize more of our potential. And then she says, embodied practice creates durable change because it rewires your entire neuromusculature and creates new embodied patterns that affect your day-to-day action. So basically, when we start learning a new pattern for our life, whether it's a behavior, a mindset, a new habit, whatever the change is, that new pattern we need to practice with our entire body in order to create all those sensories and neuron paths, not just in our brain, but in all different muscles that we have, to basically bring it in as part of our life. Any thoughts, any questions, any comments before we go to the process of embodiment? See a few more people joined. All right, so let's go to the process of embodiment. Here, when I talk about it, I really like you to imagine if you can even come up with an example for yourself, and just imagine what we are going to talk about for yourself. Maybe even if you have a pen and paper, maybe even if you can just take a note and then afterward do some reflections. So the process is the first step is recognizing that there is a behavior that we want to change. There is a mindset that we want to change. There is a new pattern that we want in our life. And then after that, the centering practice is kind of like connecting to yourself through your body, through your breath. It's a very short practice. You can do it several times per day. We will go through it, and it's very helpful. And then after that, like I mentioned, we want to basically try to expand our perspective, to be curious about how we can shift our mindset to create this new pattern for ourselves. What is it that, go to details to see what is it that we want to change. And then the somatic practices that come with it. And at the end, we want to kind of like bring it all together to feel that present moment that we are in it. And then we talk about the practice and the repetition of the practice. That is the key, definitely. Recognizing can be actually a little bit of longer process. So basically, like I mentioned, we have a lot of social media and workshops and books and everything that comes towards us to tell us how we can have a happy life. The very first thing that I think I mentioned in the past workshops too, especially the one with emotional awareness, we don't want to be always happy. That's not the goal. I mean, it's impossible. It's not even sustainable. We want to be connected to life. We want to be fulfilled, and we want to be resilient because life happens. And when it happens, we want to be ready to become more resilient and stay towards the challenges and take the best out of them. Even, at the moment that we might even feel the most helpless, there is still a choice that we can choose for ourselves. There is always a choice. So we want to teach our body, we want to teach our brain and body, our mind and body to kind of like be always to feel comfortable to live in this world and go through ups and downs. That's basically the goal. So to begin with, I in this model that is especially based on Amanda Blake's model, I want you to think about a strength. And this is where I said, if you have the pen and pencil, and if you can think about it, and even if you like to share it with us, just drop it in the chat or unmute yourself. So think about one strength that you have, a type of like, is it, whether it's a behavior, a mindset, something that you are good at it. And remember how you feel when you use that strength, even if you can remember one example about it. And then when you think about that, I want you to think about kind of like an area that you feel the limitation and you feel you need more strength. And what is that area? And how do you feel when those limitations happen in your life? If you want to take a note or just think about it, I kind of like comparing two different ones together. We all have strengths. We all have all the strengths. Some of them are sometimes distorted because of our condition in life, the circumstances, but we can take the dust away and bring them back up. But some of the strengths are working perfectly and they're like there. So what are those? If you want to think about it, like make it like a very kind of like a short and clear sentence of what you want to change. I have a few examples here, like prioritizing what's important for you, to be able to say no, being more mobile. I personally sit a lot during the day. So I like one of the things I want to do is being more mobile, have more activity. To be able to request or ask for help. Sometimes many of us cannot do that. We want to eat healthy. Is that what I want to focus on? Or I want to be less perfectionist. And these are just a few examples. There are thousands of different new patterns in life that we want to have, but we have to do it one by one, right? So when we accept that this is the strength that I want to develop, this is the area that I want to work on, not as a weakness, but as really like as a strength that has dust on it and you are just cleaning it up. It's distorted and you are just shedding light on it to kind of like bring it to light. When you accept that, then you don't constantly fight with it, because when you fight with that, when you don't accept a part of yourself, then that fight is just wasting your energy. But when you accept it, you become all one, and then you can go from there. Any comments? Okay. Oh, we have one in the chat. Sorry, I missed it. Determination and focus. Thanks, Rachel. That's beautiful. Yes. That's very important, right? When we focus, we definitely can strengthen. When we strengthen our focus, we can strengthen our determination too. They're really hand in hand, and I love that. It's in this world that we have so much or too many responsibilities and too many sidetracks and too many stimulation that distracts us. This is a very important responsibility. This is a very important strength that we should pay attention to it. So this is an example of the strength that I think I have and the area that the strength that I want to develop more. When I'm in a situation, when I'm in a gathering, when I'm in a social gathering, it's very easy for me to feel empathy towards others. And I feel really comfortable understanding other people's, as much as I can put myself in other person's shoes and kind of try to see the world from their point of view. It gives me kind of like a connection, a sense of connection, a sense of kind of like a communion. So in this table, what we want to do is the current strength that I have, how do I feel it? How do I sense it in my body? What is the mood that it gives me? What emotions that I experience? What are the thoughts and beliefs that come with it? And I write it about the one that I think I have and the one that I want to develop more. So this is an example of how I came up with the strength that I want to develop when I'm in a social gathering. That part is good. It's easy for me to feel empathy towards others, to try to understand other people. But I also very quickly, with a little pressure, feel under people-pleasing state of mind. And I can't have my boundaries very clearly. Now, this is actually an example that I've been working on it. It's been a while. I think I feel a lot better, but because it's one of those really in-depth, curved in my nerve system, it takes a long time to really bring it out. But it's incremental. It's a step-by-step. So when I feel empathy in a social gathering, this is how I feel: a heart filled of love and connection, relaxed shoulders and jaw, feeling light and ready to fly. But when I fall under that people-pleasing mode, then I have squeezed jaw, heaviness on my shoulders. I smile a lot, but it's not a really genuine smile. I give a lot of compliments. I try to have that pleasing tone of voice to make sure that everybody loves me. But I also feel the shallow breathing. Now, to get to this point, that's why I said recognizing is a long process. It's it has to happen. It immediately happens. It automatically happens, right? But then I pay attention that oh, how do I feel? How do I sense it in my body? And when we get to the next slides, we'll see how we can actually do reflection and take notes on it. When I'm in that empathy mood, I feel connected. I feel higher self-esteem, that communion, belonging. I even feel creative, how to connect with people, how to understand people, how to ask the right question, to kind of empower people. But when I fall on that people pleasing, there is a lot of guilt, fear, pressure on kind of I don't need the help, or let me do it for other people, let me compromise. And I feel belittled. And the thoughts and beliefs is when I feel empathy, I'm like, it's easy to feel like, oh, everyone has challenges. I have to understand people. But when I fall into people pleasing, I'm like, oh, I don't matter. I just have to pay attention to others. And you see how these two can be very, like, even overlapped at one point. It's like a very fine line from falling from one to another one. So this is an example. And if you can do this for yourself, if you can fill out this table through this recognizing process, you write it, then you come back and you change it, you come back and you change it more, you modify it. It will take a while until you really feel comfortable that like, oh, this is how I feel. And then when you see this, how you sense it, how you feel it, then you want to say, yes, this is my current state of being when I have when I have this not enough strength. And then this is how I want to be. I want to have body sensation of relaxed breathing. You remember that I get shallow breathing, or like open and relaxed shoulders, a calm look, a calm tone of voice, a confident tone of voice, or I want to feel empowered, not belittled, to be authentic, to be true to myself. And the thoughts and beliefs that I want to create for myself, or that shift in my mind, I want it to be other people's needs are important, but my needs are important too. But under the current situation, it's very easy to like, no, that's okay. I'm just going to compromise everything because the other person is happy. These couple of slides, one, I'm sure that we have it in the other slide decks and the workshops. I use this a lot. I really, really like this kind of like little map that you can do a little body scan and see what part of your body's, what parts of your body is triggered, or what parts are centered and they're good. Remember, if you haven't read the book, The Body Keeps the Score, I highly recommend it. If you don't have time to read the book, there are many YouTube videos about the book that still give you a lot of good information. Our body, even if we feel like, oh no, I'm not feeling it, we cognitively think we are not feeling it, but every single muscle in our body senses it because it has those receptors, and it absorbs the stress or the joy, different situations, and that's how it remembers. It always remembers a new experience. It's always based on, the algorithm is always based on our past experience. So the more new experience you give to it, the algorithm constantly changes. But after, when you do this body scan for a while, you start feeling what parts of your body are triggered. Like even here, not even like jaw, everybody knows that, right? We have a lot of tension in our jaw. But here, there are like muscles on my bicep that I didn't even know they exist. But when I touch it, I feel that it hurts. So there is a lot of tension in a lot of different parts of our body. It's unbelievable. So I hope this helps. And this is just a little bit of kind of like a wheel of emotions, just to give you an idea of what type of emotion you are sensing when you have the strength and you feel good about it, and when you have the not enough strength and you want to develop it. Any comments? I have one person here. Oh, yes. Thank you, Rachel. Yeah, that's a great book for awareness, for cognitive awareness. And it really, I remember a couple of years ago, I think when I read it, it was just mind blowing. It's very, very useful. The Body Keeps the Score. And like I said, there are a lot of good videos, interviews with the author, everything that you can watch it in YouTube. So when we go through the recognizing process, it's like a little bit iterative. It incrementally goes, gradually moves forward. So we go through that, but in order to do it, like we said, we want to go to our body and kind of like go through the process. The very beginning of how we want to connect to our body is this very simple and short practice. It's called centering. And I think it comes from a lot of martial arts. It's like a very thing in martial art, like people do a lot of centering, and like great teachers in all different types of martial art, they say we do centering all the time, but it's so fast that you don't see it. So it's like great to even create a habit of doing it over and over and over during the day. We're not supposed to always sit and have like this breath, but when we actually go, like, forget how we are sitting, how we are standing, how we are driving, this is a very good reminder of kind of like sit straight. What is it? It's just like it can really take between 5 to 20 seconds. Just sit straight, or if you're standing up, make sure that your neck, your spine, and your lower back are all aligned. Open your chest and a big inhale. If you can do it now, can you do it now? Just pay attention to your breath. And it creates a little balance. You just come to your body. You just connected with your present moment and your breath. The more you can do it, the better during the day. So we want to start our practice with this, and this becomes a little tool in our toolbox that even when we are under stressful circumstances, nobody even would notice if you do it even in the middle of a crowd. You just sit or stand straight and just a couple of breaths. It's just like very easy. And then I forgot the last, feel to expand the space around yourself. When you do the breath, just feel that you have a lot of space around you. If there are people around you, feel that those people are included in that space, but that's the big space that you have. Just feel that you exist and you have this good space. This is a very important part. Sorry, I forgot it. We have one comment. Rachel says, I understand a bit of your saying about the algorithm. The more I was exposed to needles, the less nervous I became. Yes, exposure therapy in a way, if that's on the same track of what you were talking about. So thank you, Rachel, for clarifying that. Basically, our brain has that algorithm. I mean, the whole body and brain, where everything, it's always calculated based on what we've learned a second ago or 10 years ago or since we were born. The needle example is a very good example, yeah, because it's like, as long as it doesn't hurt, that, like, if it hurts all the time, then you become numb to that hurt, maybe. But it's like, let's say that like a dog bit me when I was a child. So my brain calculated with the algorithm that it has that dogs bite, all of them. Because I was a little child. I mean, it really didn't happen. I'm just giving an example. But as a little child, I exaggerate a lot because my world is very small. My understanding is very limited. And then I grow up with that belief, and That's part of my algorithm. So every time that I see a dog, I freak out. And then that actually, I was afraid of dogs. And then I had a friend, and then my husband started teaching me how to approach dogs. And little by little, when I started approaching dogs and see that they are actually very sweet, the brain started learning differently. So the algorithm started including the new data. So it wasn't like all bad, the dogs bite. It was like, well, some dogs bite, but there are a lot of dogs that are very sweet. And then eventually I got to the point that, I was able to be a dog owner. So that's how the brain recalculates it all the time with the new experience. I hope that example helped. Thank you. Why is it not moving? Okay. I think there is a certain place in the page that I have to click on. Don't worry about too many words here. I mentioned it before. These are basically like as references, because Adrian is always kind to us and sends the slides out. So I wanted to be kind of like a little bit of checklist or reference. But basically what I'm saying here is, so you are centered, you are connected to your breath. This can be a daily practice. You know how when you are trying to create a new pattern, they talk about like 5,000, 10,000 hours of practice, right? That's one assumption. That theory isn't really backed with a lot of facts. But what is backed with all the facts is that we have to practice. And in order to teach our muscles and our body in an easier way, it's better if you want to have a new pattern to practice daily. If it's not daily, if it's not possible, practice it regularly. Allow your body to remember it, and then, to change that algorithm. So every time you want to do the practice, you do the centering, and then you are coming to this point that I want to basically expand my perspective about this change that I want to have. One important thing is, like I said, we live in our hearts with a lot of noises that are thoughts, but 95% of our thoughts during the day are really have no value. There are the 5% that we really need to pay attention to that. But so there is a lot of noise. Those thoughts to me are noise. We want to drop to our heart. If you can close your eyes, if you can focus on something beautiful, just drop to your heart. Pay attention to your breath. Some people are able to even listen to their heartbeat. Not everybody is, but if you can put your hand in your heart, but really connect with your heart and allow those noises, all those thoughts that are kind of like self-doubts or self-criticism, allow them to go away, to kind of like acknowledge them, that I know you are there, I know you're self-criticizing me, but leave me alone for a second. And that also needs a lot of practice by itself. Like if we don't do meditation, this practice itself is kind of like a meditation that needs a lot of practice. But when we acknowledge that, I know you are a self-criticizing thought, I know you are self-doubting, you are a self-doubt talks, even if it helps to talk to them as kind of like not part of me, you're there, but you are coming to my mind. It helps to lose their power. It helps for you to lessen their power. And then when you are really feeling connected to your heart, when those the noises are kind of like less noisy, then think about these few questions that I have here, kind of like prompts. How do I see myself in the old pattern? What limitations the old pattern has brought to my life, my rights, my boundaries, my values? What strengths can I use to practice the new pattern? What is the new response to the triggers that I want for myself? You know, like I mentioned, the old pattern happens very quickly in a fraction of a second, because it's a very second nature habit in our body. When it happens, then that's when you want to bring kind of like acknowledgement that like, okay, it happened. What happened? To reflect. And then here you want to say, slowly, when you recognize what happens, then you can very slowly, step by step, you can bring a new step and change that step. And eventually you can respond instead of an impulsive reaction. It will be really incremental, but it will help if you actually write about these prompts. And then the last one, what core values am I protecting with the new pattern? So think about these when you sit to kind of like contemplate on this new pattern. Think about this, and every time you do it, see what your heart says. Every time you can hear a little bit more of your heart, and the noises will be less and less. When you acknowledge them, the power goes down and down, further down. So repeat this practice and be patient with it. See what comes out of it. And then and then I have these kind of like a list. You know, there are so many different models out there. There's this like Dr. Rick Hansen with 12 strengths. There are other models like whole person model that has 25 strengths. Basically, like it's this, but a little broken down. I really like these 12 strengths that you can look at them and see what is the strength that you want to work on, what is the strength that you want to focus on, and based on this, answer those prompts. And then the values. Now, this is an example again. You can find the list of values and virtues that you want to work on, but what are the core values that I'm protecting? Personally, when I fall under people pleasing, I am stepping on my own authenticity and being true to myself and others. That's like one of the core values. If I want to protect that, so I have to practice. I need to change that people pleasing behavior. I need to be true to myself and to others. So like I said, this is just one example. There is a resource down here if you want to look at it, but you know, you might have your own list of your own list of virtues and values of human being. But think about them, like what is it that is important for me to make this change? And then when you feel more connected, as part of your practice, like this can be really everything that I'm talking about today can be really like a 10-15 minute daily practice or regular practice. But the more you repeat it, the better you get out of it, the more clarity comes to it. So when you did the contemplation, it's very important to bring it further to your body. You connected to your heart, you are trying to listen to your heart, and now you want to see what you want to sense it in your body. Remember that table that we looked at it together, like my jaws or my shoulders or my breathing. So here, to see the change, even if you can do it right now, remember a posture that makes you feel little or not good, unpleasant. It can be just like hunching down. It can be like kind of like this. And pay attention to your body. Pay attention to different senses, all different parts of body. How do I feel? Especially your breathing. And then bring kind of like a posture that is a little open and can bring you a sense of power, a sense of like even pleasant, when I stand upright and in the breeze, especially in the spring or fall, I will really feel powerful. It's so calming to me that brings so much power out. I heard some other person said like when she stands on a stream with like bare feet, she feels powerful because she senses kind of like the passage of life through the water passing around her feet. And it kind of like that sensory of her feet helps her. There are so many different power poses that you can practice. Yoga has a lot of different power poses. One of the movements that gives me kind of like a sense of relief and power is shaking. Even if like you want to, there are videos, YouTube videos for it. If you want to do it, it feels silly in the beginning, but it actually brings a lot out of your body. And that sense of kind of relief like can bring a lot of power. It's different for each person. I have a video here. I really like this video. Whatever she explains, whatever she suggests for powerful movements or poses. But do it. Do one that makes you feel unpleasant and one that makes you feel pleasant or even powerful. And see and do a body scan and see what the changes are. Then you'll see, the more you do this, the more you connect to your body and you learn more about the language of your body. There are times that like I don't have words to explain, but I just don't feel it in my body. And I'm like, no, I can't do this. But I really don't have words to explain it, but my body tells me no. So this is another part of the routine, the regular practice that you want to do. These are examples. And this is also a very good video here with, what is her name? I forgot her name. She had done a research in Harvard about the power poses. Amy Cuddy, her name is Amy Cuddy, and this is linked to her video. These are like other few power poses that you can imagine for yourself. But find yours. Find what is your power pose and practice that. Any thoughts, any comments? Anybody else likes to share any thoughts? Okay. The next step is to kind of like bring everything together, to understand. I know I said it many times, but it's very important to remember that these changes are very subtle. If you can take notes on your reflections when you do, to go to your heart, to drop to your body, and then bring the power pose. If you take notes about it, so bring cognitive abilities in it and integrate it, to use the words from your cognitive intelligence and bring it together. That's when you start seeing the better picture, the more clarity in the picture of the change that you want to have. And it's motivating by itself. So when you see the changes, when you see the little increments of the changes that you've done, then you know you can do more. It's actually very empowering when you look at your old notes and come back to it. It's basically to be in the present, the whole mindfulness about the present. We have awareness, but we might about a lot of things, but we might not be mindful about it. At that moment, when I feel powerful, when I feel, and when I'm saying powerful, I'm not saying being forceful. Powerful means feeling confident and comfortable in your own body and your own skin. That's when you can connect to other people a lot better. You can help other people from the source of power, and you can ask for help without feeling like a victim. And you can ask the right help without burdening other people, right? We can all do that. So when we know our powers, then we can connect to other people in a much deeper level. It's basically feeling good about yourself is how the very first step, knowing about your strengths and feeling comfortable in your skin is the first step towards a great relationship with other people. And when you are in a good and resilient mood, when you feel that I can make these changes, then that mood is contagious, and you actually has a ripple effect. You give it to other people around you too. So it's really not a change for one person. Other people feel it, and sooner rather than later, they in their own way, they feel and they start the change, especially people who are closer to you. But it's very important to kind of like know our strengths, bring them out through this process, and live from the point of power and strength, not to be a victim, to be more resilient towards what life gives us. And I can't just say it enough. Like we mentioned it, Amanda Blake said in the beginning, in one of the first slides, that like when you wanted to learn swimming, or if you had a chance to learn a musical instrument, what were the steps? How many times did you practice? How often did you practice? This is exactly the same, bringing out our strengths and developing our virtues through that, or our values through that practice. That's what we want to kind of like bring to life. And that needs repeat, that needs practice, that needs regularity. That's when our body and our muscle memory learns to be like that, to sit like that, to walk like that, with all those strengths. I hope it makes sense.
Shabnam, may I ask something?
Yes, please.
So a moment ago, you said something about how you might be aware of a certain behavior, but you're not mindful of it. What's the difference between awareness and mindfulness?
Oh, I love that question. Let me think of an example. Like we can be aware of a lot of things, like a lot of things going on around us. We can actually be aware of so many things at one moment around us. But when I say mindful awareness, that's when you actually feel at the present moment on one thing, and then you don't have other distractions. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Sure. I'll see if I can find better definitions for it, and I'll send it out definitely. Or other better examples for it. Okay. This is the whole process. I personally created this, but it's just like based on everything else, all different models. I just, the different models that I've read and I studied, I just put them together in one slide, that we, start recognizing our current patterns, habits or beliefs, mindsets. We accept that that pattern exists, and then we feel like, what are the limitations of the pattern? What is it that we need to change? We contemplate on a new pattern, and then we start practicing. Basically, the last part, it's like the practice and embody new way of living, is what we talked about it today, the regularity of the practice through your body, through your heart. And this is a process that might not be easy to do it on your own. And that's where a coach, a person like me, comes to the process that can help empower you, keep you kind of like keep you going and keep you responsible for the growth that you want to have for yourself. It's just another pair of eyes to help you to see your own blind spots, and also help you to see your achievements, to go through the process. That's basically all I had for tonight. But of course, I always welcome, you can always email me. I always welcome questions. I like communications. Please let me know if you have any questions. But any thoughts, comments, questions for tonight?
This is Leanne.
Yes, hi,
I'm
Leanne.
not hi. I'm not sure if this is part of this or not, but I used to be a very independent person and do a lot for everyone else. And now, because of some health issues and everything, I am the one that has to depend upon other people. And that's very hard to accept.
Yes.
So I didn't know how you kind of do that and move forward. I mean, that's a little bit, I'm not sure if it even relates to what all of this is, but it seems like all my good strengths now are not being able to be fulfilled.
I understand. I totally understand. It is about self-development. It is about our self-growth, and we grow until the last breath. I appreciate that you do have the awareness of a lot of those strengths that were existed before might not be available now. But what are the strengths now that you could use in other different areas? Not necessarily exactly in what, there were strengths, now they are not, and you have to ask for help. But there are other strengths in other areas that you can use in order to connect to other people. Would that be something that you can think about?
Yeah, that would be good. I mean, that would be more than like being able to help someone, say, physically, but being able to do something, maybe just on the, other not volunteering, but doing other things that would still make you feel,
Yeah, sometimes even
you're positive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sometimes even a genuine appreciation, or listening to other people, or there are a lot of strengths that you have in your compassion is not limited to physical mobility. Your compassion is a lot bigger than that, and I'm sure there are so many other ways that you can use that towards others.
That's a good idea. I will try that.
I hope it
Thank you.
helps.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks. I know I talked a lot, but I always enjoy talking about these subjects. Thanks, Adrian, for this opportunity, and thanks everyone who joined us.
Yeah, sure. My pleasure. I'm so glad that we get to host your program, Shabnam. I hope everybody can come for her next program, which is on May 22nd. It's our inner voice from self-criticism to self-acceptance. So yeah, I'll be along with the slides, I'll be sending out the link for registration to that too.
Thank you.
And then when the YouTube link for this recording is available, I'll also send that out.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Shabnam. Thanks everybody for coming.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
All right.
Thank you
Bye.
very much. Bye
Bye.
now.